as some of you have correctly pointed out, here is planted 4 o'clock flower, mirabilis jalapa. However, it seems 4 o'clock has passed and they have fallen over dramatically. And I cannot get to the back of my garden, so let's cut it back, let's trim it, but then also let's use it. Someone thought that I could use the seeds, of which I have already gathered a little bit, as a dye stuff. However, Google doesn't give me any information about that. It only gives one academic paper on using the flowers as a dye stuff. I am not a fan of using the flowers because they are too pretty. I don't want to pick them when they're flowering. But now that it's all collapsed upon itself and probably a lot of the seeds are already on the ground, I'm going to make my own academic paper in the form of this YouTube video. Let's go. Most of these did already shed their seeds, probably onto the ground, so that's where we're going to find them. No more seeds in these either. So yeah, as expected, there are quite a bit of seeds on the floor over here. Also other stuff, don't at me, I am a lazy gardener. But let's pick up some of these seeds and then also throw some of the seeds back into the border so that there will be new plants next year. Luckily they are quite big, which makes it easy to pick them up. I have gathered almost an entire pot of the seeds, which corresponds to the maximum amount of time I am willing to crouch over the seeds and pick them up, which is of course a very scientific and academic way of measuring things. Now for the remaining seeds, I'm just going to brush them together and then just throw it into the border. Pro life hack: use your YouTube channel as motivation to get some yard work done. Now before we can test whether or not those mirabilis jalapa seeds will give any sort of dye, we need to prepare the fluff. This is some scoured, so already washed with some soap, Belgian milk sheep that I'm now going to mordant. For the mordanting, I have here, resting on my hip, as the ancient distraught woman that I am, a pot of water. I mostly use rainwater, but you know, water from your faucet will just work as well. We're putting that water on heat and adding our mordant, in this case alum. The mordant, in this case alum, will bite kind of into the fiber and make sure that it takes up the color. You want approximately 10% of your weight of fabric, or in this case your weight of fluff, of the alum. Natural dyeing is chemistry, so stuff has to be correct. However, I was never really good at chemistry at school, so I don't go with the correctness. I just gauge stuff, and apparently for the past 2 years everything has worked out in my advantage. So I'm just going to, you know, pour in some alum. I'm going to guess that to be correct. And now we wait until the water has heated up and the alum dissolved. This could take an hour. So, what have you going on in your life? Maybe you should chat. I don't know, an hour is long. Or, well, maybe I'll just see you when it's done. Yeah, I'm going to do that. The next step in this process is the extraction of the possible dye out of our chosen dye stuff. In this case, the seeds, of which we actually still do not know whether they will yield a dye or not. I have once again put them in a pot with rainwater and on heat, and we'll see what they do. Not sure if the ones that are like floating on top will do much, but the ones that are on the bottom. Maybe. But I also do not know how long it will take for the color to extract. So maybe we do need to chat a little bit, you know, to pass the time. Now, if you were around as a viewer of this channel in 2022 or 2023 and followed my Tour de Vlies vlogs, you might remember my garden as some kind of jungle. And it is not right now. I used to talk about my garden as a place where nature was allowed to thrive, where everything could grow where it wanted to grow. That was my garden philosophy, and I still hold true to that garden philosophy. I am still really vehemently against lawn culture. That is like the second worst thing they have made us do. Turn all our gardens into lawns, and then there is no room for biodiversity, no room for bees or any other kind of pollinators, no room for the birds. But what you're seeing right now really looks like a monoculture lawn, right? Just with one tree. That's because I have now limited the wild growing patch in my garden to what is behind you. I will show you in a minute. Now, why did I do this? Maybe we're going a little bit too deep into talking for a silly natural dyeing video, but I did it because of anxiety. I could not enter my garden anymore without getting a panic attack from thinking about the possibility that my neighbors might see me and talk to me and address the fact that my garden was a jungle. And they might not want the seeds from my garden jungle in their garden. Internalized lawn culture. Very much. But I still really love natural dyeing with plants that just grow. I don't have a dye garden. I have a garden where plants can just grow. And if they happen to be dye plants, oh, yes. Grow, baby, grow. Can you see this? And like behind me is the same thing. We just have one part mowed as kind of path in between. This is the part where everything is still allowed to grow whatever it wants to grow. As of this year, there is not much flowers in there yet because we just stopped mowing. Like there was grass planted and we just stopped mowing. I think over the course of the next couple of years, more plants, more flowers, more wildflowers will grow in there. I will also help it a little bit because I am collecting seeds everywhere that I see a nice flower that has gone to seed. And I will sprinkle them around when the time is ripe. But let's just take a look at it, right? Now actually the only thing that isn't allowed to grow in here is growing right there. So I might need to scoop that out. That's a nasty bit of brambles, aka blackberries. I think the previous owners of our house planted blackberries because I find brambles everywhere. I do not like them because they just, as I said, grow everywhere. But you know, stinging nettle, that's very welcome. Now we have ground elder. Unwelcome in most gardens, but welcome in mine. I don't actually know what you are, but hello, you are welcome. You are pretty. This is, we call it citroenmelisse. Melissa? Smells really nice. Hairy vetch. Nice purple flowers. Where are they? I can't find them. Ah, there they are. Here is a little bit of St. John's wort. I'm really hoping to get a much bigger, broader bush next year so that I can use it for dyeing. Because as I've shown you in a video, nice dye plant. They have withered to almost nothing, but there were like big patches of poppies all around over here. That was really nice. Now I don't know what to do with this one over there. Do I let it grow or don't I? Because that is an alder tree. And I mean, alder cones are absolutely amazing dye stuff, but it might be a little bit too close to the border with our neighbors to have like an actual tree growing. Yeah, I'm still debating. Do we want a tree over here? Thank you for listening to me chat. Oh my, that is looking promising. but I might just leave it in a little longer. Okay, so it is later. This actually practically has been going for the entire afternoon. I don't think we're going to get a much darker shade than this, and the liquid has also fairly reduced to the point that my fluff might not be able to float around freely in it. So we're going to strain out the pits and then start dyeing with this liquid. So we've got no more kernels in the dye. Let's add the wool. Don't you start boiling on me now? No, 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 you've got wool in there. You don't want to be boiling wool. Behave. Don't boil the wool. Let's first try with this little bit. My wool has been in here for approximately 2.5 hours. I'm going to take a little bit out of there and reserve that for rinsing. And with the rest, I think we're going to play with some after baths. What do you say? Now first let's check what color it has. Do you have a name for this? Camouflage, brown, green, anyway, that'll be for rinsing. So, got iron water, let's put that in here, and some wood ash lye, and I'll put it in the pot over here. Oh, that's an immediate reaction. Interesting, interesting. Now, these types of chemical afterbaths really bite down hard on your fiber. Don't leave them in too long, for it will make your wool brittle. That we don't want, so let's take them out and let's check out the colors. So, my guys, gals and non-binary pals, here we have the colors. And why are you in the way like that? That is bothering me. Thank you. The colors. First off, this is the undyed white fluff, and this is our primary color that we got from these mirabilis jalapa seeds. It's very faint. It's something in between beige and green, I would say. It's beige, but with like a greenish overtone. So, looking at this, asking myself, can you dye with the seeds of the mirabilis jalapa? Yes, but should you dye with the seeds of the mirabilis jalapa? This makes me say rather no. I mean, maybe you need a lot more seeds. Maybe you need a different dye technique. All of that is very possible, but do we really want this faint beige with a green overtone? I don't know. I don't think it was worth it to be crouched over those seeds on the floor for that long time for this bit of light greenish beige. When adding the wood ash lye to it, it made it less green, more beige. So also not something I would recommend you sit over seeds for such a long time. But then when adding the iron water, the transformation was sudden and total, and we have a very gorgeous bluish, almost greenish gray. Not everything reacts with iron water this extreme. Not everything just goes entirely gray like that. Or maybe I just had a very potent iron solution. That could be the case. Or maybe there is something in these seeds that reacts very violently to this change in environment. because sometimes when you add iron it just darkens the color a little bit, but this is a complete color change. So this is my little scientific experiment, my academic paper on dyeing with mirabilis jalapa seeds. It is, in fact, possible. How these colors will stand the test of time and the test of sunlight, I can thus far not say. For that I will need more study. And because I really like this particular color of grey, I have put some more of the mordant in a second dye bath with the iron water and hopefully get a nice grey as well. Anyway, if you like these kind of fiber shenanigans, then maybe you could like, comment or subscribe, but of course that is all up to you. And as for me, I will see you in a next video, but before that maybe you could look at some more dyeing shenanigans. Bye!